there's no impact if you don't do anything with the money, right? That's a bit of a clue that something isn't quite right, because if a thousand people come along and took $200,000 from, say, Breakout Prop, which is what they offer on their platform, that'd be $200 million. So A, who has $200 million sitting around is questionable. So that's already one clue. But clue number two is you wouldn't have $200 million sat doing nothing, right? Because $200 million can make you a lot of money per month if it's put to use. So what these firms do is they charge the trader, they sell them a story of, we'll make you rich, we'll get you more funding, you can punch your boss in the face, but actually they don't place any real flow on any trading platforms. Yeah, it's what they call synthetic. And they come up with all sorts of weird and wonderful reasons, but the reality is that it's no different to a casino. The trader is going in there with cash, and the prop firm survives and thrives by taking the trader's money. When the trader wins, they're winning from the prop firm. So that becomes an issue. So what do they do? And the trick really is let's offer people crazy sums of money and just make it really difficult to actually make any money. And that's generally how the industry works. Okay, so I won't name names now because I don't want to slander anyone, but an unnamed firm will give you $200,000, but then they'll set you a 4% daily drawdown limit, right? Now, the probability of you going -4% is very high, like crazy high. And the probability, everybody's done this, right? When you set a stop loss just above your entry because you think it's going to dump, but you don't really want any risk. And it almost always jumps up and hits your stop loss, doesn't it? And then it dumps like 10%, and you would have been rich. And the reason for that is actually because the probability of you hitting that drawdown is not linear. So on our platform we have 20% drawdown, which is legitimately there to protect liquidity and protect the risk that traders bring. But having 4% drawdown, you're not 5 times more likely to hit that than 20% actually, because many people would go over 4% and then come back, right? So I think, probability wise, it's more like probably 15 times more likely to hit -4% than hit -20%. Okay. Now, other things they'll do is, another great one is trailing stop loss. Now, trailing stop loss is where we say you can only lose 4%, but if you grow, then it's 4% from what you grew to. Now, why do prop firms do this? Two reasons. One is because it's another way you're going to blow up. So you start with 200,000, you go up 10%, you got 20K, you're over the moon. You go backwards 4%, bang, you've lost your account. So you were up 20K, but there was never really 20K there because they're not placing any real flow, and it's just designed to hit you. Also, what it does do, a trailing stop loss, makes people nervous of going up and then coming back. What they do is they don't let positions run so much. They close positions earlier, so they don't run up. So it reduces cash out exposure for the platform, and it also reduces cash out exposure because it's much more likely that you're going to blow up. Okay, so what we do is we integrate, in a nutshell, we integrate with established trading platforms, offering a prop trading layer that's completely honest, completely transparent. Traders do deposit, that's their share of the risk. At the first level, they receive 5 times the capital they've deposited. And then if they can pass one level, and they do cash out on that one level, it's not eval or synthetic, you do cash out real money. If you pass that one level, then you can move up to the next one, okay? And you just get more cash. And I'll show you what that looks like now. So aside from this, and I'll close that just so it's not running on my machine. So there's kind of like 3 things you guys are going to need. So if you go to our landing page, there's a lot going on here. So you can see, you can jump straight in to get funded. That'll take you to the app, or you can go to launch app here. And there is a bit of an explanation here, so that choose your account, trade and hit milestones, scale. Okay, so there is some, choose either. I can choose to deposit $100 or I can deposit $500. That's a starter and pro challenge, and then off I go. Now, a good way, a much more sensible way of absorbing that information just go to the docs, which is linked on our homepage here, and you'll see the two most important bits in the docs are challenge funding. So this will show you the two challenges. So the starter challenge, you start much smaller, but you can still get up to $10,000. And the pro challenge, you start much higher up. So you start with a lot of cash, and it's real money in your account. And it's very simple for us because we actually want to see you succeed. We want to see you win. We want to see the market makers lose. So actually, there's no weird and wonderful rules. You can hold trades overnight. There's no trading stop loss. We do need to see that you're not just fluking, though, right? That is really important, and that's because if we move you up to the next level, we start to take on liquidity risk there. So if you just open one trade and you grew your account from 2.5 up to 2,875, and we promoted you off of one trade, you might have just traded a meme token and it just pumped, right? That doesn't really demonstrate any skill. We know that it's hard to be lucky over a number of trades. That's where it gets difficult. So what we do is you earn points also then for activity. So if you've been not very active, but you've had one really lucky trade, well, then you need to do some more trades without losing what you've made, because you need to be above that minimum P&L plus 15% to pass. So you won't get to 100 points unless you're plus 15% P&L. And if you haven't really been active and you've just been lucky on your trades, you won't have enough points either. So it's just a way of making sure that you have been active enough that it's more than just luck. And we can all be lucky, but luck eventually runs out if you're just YOLOing in different directions, and then you move up to the next level. So you cash out 80% of that, and then you get up to the next level. You now have $5,000. Your target again is plus 15%, so you get up to 750. You get to keep 80% of the profits again at that level, and just repeat 7.5. You get to keep 80% of the profits. Now the profit target, you can actually let it run. I'll show you in a second. There's a little feature where it will auto promote you if you hit your target and your points. Or you can turn that feature off if you wanted to, because you might, like today, I might just have a view that I'm in a trade and Bitcoin's going to go down, so I'm just going to keep riding this. So there's no maximum profit that you can make, and we encourage you to make as much profit as you possibly can, right? And you'll see that the drawdown comes down a bit, and that's just to protect our liquidity, because here, when you've got $10,000, actually you can lose $1,200, right? So you've only deposited $500. You get that back as well, that $500, and you would have cashed out along the way. So we're as you go through each level, we're assuming more and more liquidity risk on your account. The second important bit from the docs I would read is this bit here. So I've mentioned some of that. So how do I get promoted? It's points, and points come by delivering performance. This is wrong, actually. That needs to be edited, so we need to make a note of that, because that should be 15%. And also you can, so if you perform crazy well, the system will have an override and say, look, this person has just banked so much cash, look, you've generated so much profit, we'll move you up, right? So you can, if you just do crazy results on performance, it will move you up. But really what we want to see is traders that can deliver performance over a number of trades. How do I fail my challenge? Is really simple. There's two ways you fail your challenge. So number one, which is the one most people are familiar with, is drawdown. So drawdown is set as a limit of your total account. So if we go back to the documents, you'll see the drawdown here starts at a very generous 20%, and then it tightens up a bit. Yeah. And really, somebody shouldn't be putting in their whole balance into a single trade and taking that level of risk. That level of risk very, very, very rarely works out. So the drawdown also encourages you to play more sensibly as the pot goes up. It's very tempting for people to kind of jump in very aggressively. Now, back to the other way that you can lose your account is inactivity. Okay, and remember I mentioned before there's a few clues that it's not real money in prop trading, and one is nobody would have that much liquidity You're sitting around doing nothing. It's no different to us. And actually, it'd be an exploit risk for us if there wasn't some sort of control that would stop people abusing liquidity. So once you've started your challenge, you start with it's close to 2 days on your timer, and that time is always ticking down. But every time you trade, it earns more time. Yeah. So that timer builds up really quickly. Actually, it's not about making sure you're active a lot. It's just about making sure that you're not inactive. And the risk for us as a business would be, a bad actor, for instance, could say, look, we don't like what these guys are doing. We want to disable their business. Somebody could, exhaust all of our liquidity, opening up hundreds of accounts, and then do nothing with it, right? And then we're sat there, all of our liquidity is in accounts and nothing's happening. It'd be a great way of sort of targeting our business. So there's a risk there. So the way we combat that is actually if a user, and the account that I've got today had timed out. I'd started it for a previous demo, and I paid a $2 fee on my $100 actually for being timed out, and that was like no penalty. So if you do get timed out, it will take like a fee. Think of it like it's a chart. Look, you took our liquidity, but you didn't do anything with it. And that's the way it stops people exploiting the system actually, because ultimately if someone wanted to try and abuse our system, if someone just forgets like I did, do I care? I came back today, I put in $100, I forgot about it, and I came back today and I paid like $2. I don't care. I was like, oh no, I forgot my account, never mind. But if somebody was trying to do that at scale, it would not be economical for them to do it. So that's why that system is in place. So there's no other rules. So like I say, you can, we want you to be successful. Why would we create rules like other prop firms do that are going to make it harder for you to succeed? That isn't in our interest. We do well if you do well. If you're growing, if you're getting promoted, it means you keep trading. And we share in the profits, right? You get 80% of the profits you generate. We get the other 20% back to our vault. So the better you do, the better we do. Cool. So let's go to the platform. So once you launch the platform, and I'm going to be, I opened this trade just before this call actually. It jumped back up, and my view was that it's the fake bounce, isn't it? And especially like a rule of thumb, I'm not a trader, but I've definitely been on the wrong side of these trades long enough, many enough times, to know that when it's dumping like this, it typically isn't going to stop dumping until you see some big wick. So if you see, that's a little tip if anyone doesn't know that, if you're on a big dump and you just don't get much of a wick, and even sometimes you won't get much of a wick and it will really work up, maybe even for many hours, but then eventually go back down. Yesterday, interestingly, we didn't really have that big of a wick. So even sort of a day later, it's come back to get us. If you don't mind, I'm not a great trader, by the way, so I cannot afford to look a gift horse in the map, so I'm going to close that position. So when you land on our platform, so our platform is built on top of multiple other platforms. So this integration is with the Orderly Network, who have 55 platforms, 1 billion a day, most days, in volumes. There's a professional platform with professional sort of amounts of liquidity. Going to get FOMO now because it's going to keep going down and I close my position, but let's take the win. And you can see, so the liquidity here is, I'm guessing it's going to be much lighter on one side than the other, but yeah, on this side you've got $1.7 million within a pretty tight range actually. So it's from 812 to 836 as I was looking at it there, and on the other side of the order book you've got a bit lighter on the other side, going between half and $1 million on the other side. When you get down to smaller pairs, they do have lighter liquidity as you would expect, but it's a big risk for us actually. We won't integrate with people that don't have a minimum amount of liquidity, because that presents like an operational risk for us actually. So that's what we're built on top of. When you get to our platform, where you're going is here, so fund is. So you go to start a new journey. You can just trade perpetuals. So we'll have, we've already integrated with Vertex, but they paused operations. We've got 2 integrations going to be announced in the coming days. And so you will have options to choose different platforms actually. So if there's certain features that some platforms have, and you prefer certain styles and different UIs, then you will have multiple options in a couple of weeks where you can trade your funded challenges. But you could just trade perpetuals. I'm in a funded challenge here, but actually you'll notice if I wanted to go back to my main account, then I can go back to here, and then I would need to then deposit actually into the account. But don't, if you want to start a challenge, don't go and deposit into the main account. I'm kind of showing you what not to do. Follow this link, because I'm sharing my screen. MetaMask is going to take an age now. There we go, right. So I've disconnected because I was messing around moving between accounts. There's the auto promotion trigger actually. We'll come back to that in a second. So go to start a new journey. So at the moment you've got 2 levels that are available. So you've got entry and pro. So with entry you start with 100, you instantly have $500, and your drawdown limit is 20%. So you're taking the liquidity risk at the first level, and that's how you basically prove that you can trade. But it's not an eval, because it's real funds, it's real profit, and you do really cash out, and cash outs are instant and on chain. But you keep 80% of those profits as well, but then you'll instantly scale up. So pro is the one I mentioned before, so you'll instantly have 2.5 past 1 level, and then you've got $5,000 of house money basically, and then you go 7.5 and 10. So flash funding isn't live yet because we're still working on a few things in the background, and that'll be where you can just access funds actually ad hoc. So like today, if you think the market's going to dump, you could have just go to flash funding and literally just decide based on ratios what your drawdown is going to be. So I can say, right, give me $5,000 now, borrow that, deposit it into my account, go short, make bank, and then I just pay a 10% fee back to the vault for borrowing that liquidity. Remember that I can then go and leverage all of that liquidity. Yeah. So it's, some people say, isn't it just like leverage? It's not, because you can take that liquidity and then go and leverage up to 100x, which is very risky. So I wouldn't recommend that. But you, once you pass the first level, then we start to assume a portion of the liquidity risk up to, I think we take something like 70% of the liquidity risk once you get up to platinum. Cool. So you go there, you start your journey, you'll deposit, the amount into your account, and then you just go back to trading, as you can see here. So I had a starter account. I started before the call today, and I've got, there you go. Look, I talked about the timer before. I started with 2 days. I've done a couple of trades, and I've got 2 weeks. I could go on holiday now for a week, and it'd be fine. So it's really flexible, and that's because one thing that we've noticed, we did a lot of research on prop trading. We could see that the time element was just, again, it's another thing to kind of wait people out, right? In truth, if you can be active and perform, why don't we want you to get promoted in a day, right? If I, you can see that Bitcoin's down in 107 now. If I'd held that position, I'd be well up here in terms of points at the moment. I could, in theory, have got promoted in a day. I have been promoted in 0.4 days before. So if you catch a run, catch a few good trades, you can get promoted really, really quickly. And that's why we designed the timer like this. So now I've got 14 days. I'm an adult. If I want to take a few days off, or I just don't want to look at charts for a few days, or I need to go on holiday, I can. And my challenge will be here waiting for me when I get back. Or I can kind of pause between levels as well. But it also puts no minimum time. So it means that, I can go, and people do, we've seen people go bronze, silver, gold, and they're up to $7,500 in a couple of days. So there's no minimum time that you have to trade. Time is dynamic in this setting. So you can see my account is up. So if it was down, it would show me my drawdown. I'm earning points in positive P&L. So you can see here, I'm sort of plus $17 at the moment, which is quite decent actually. I've been quite active. I've had a couple of trades, both of them have gone my way. So you can see I'm up at 36 points already. So I'm already 36% of the way to getting promoted up to the next level. On starter, as a reminder, we would go from 500 up to 1250, so it's a big jump actually. So if I get to 100 points, I get to cash out 80% of the profits are generated, and then I will have $1,250 in my account at the next level, and then it jumps again from there. A couple of bonuses I should mention. So we do have, so that trading competition should be wiped because that ended this morning. But we do have a $5,000 bonus actually for the first 10 traders that cash out at platinum as well. So on top of all of your cash outs, we're offering a really big incentive for decent traders. It's not easy to get to platinum and cash out, but if you're a decent trader and you achieve it, then we'll reward you handsomely. Okay. I'm just going to come back to the chat because I want to see what questions we've got, and see if there's anyone asking any questions in the chat here. I'll come back to 53 comments in the chat. Okay, let me start. Oh, sorry, I accidentally put a laughing face on someone's question. That wasn't passive aggressive. So I can see Tycho's answering questions actually. What sort of situation would incur the maximum loss? Yeah, that's a great response. Bad risk management. Actually, try and size your positions and your stop loss considering your drawdown. That's typically what I do. So I try not to, especially if I'm on a pro, I try not to have more than $100 risk on my position if I can help it, and set stop loss. So that means that if I make 5 terrible trades and hit stop loss, then I'm going to hit drawdown. So kind of that's the way I segment it. So there's a question around the timer. I'm glad that we did that actually, and you can see the live challenge, Galani. The reason we're asking is the timer could be the killer for people. You can see on my challenge, we've still got it up actually. I'm still screen sharing, aren't I? So you can see on here. Let's have a look. What were my positions, right? Let's have a look. You can see. So you can see I'm flexing. That's how my last challenge ended. But you can see here, I've only actually had 2 positions, and they were fairly small wins, and I've got 2 weeks on the clock. So people get timed out because they're not active at all, not because they're not trading enough. If that makes sense. You can see here these weren't massive positions actually. Like this one was, I think the first one I kind of went in because I wanted to try and get it positive for the demo. So that was like a $10,000 position, but that was like a $3,000-4,000 position with leverage, and yeah, so 2 trades, 2 small wins, and I'm 35% of the way there, and got a ton of time, absolute ton of time. So the time isn't a killer for anybody that hasn't died or fallen asleep at the keyboard, quite frankly. I did comment that as well. Cool. Do we allow hedging between the same coins? So you can't open multiple positions on the same. I know some platforms you can open multiple positions, and yeah, quite frankly, like to hedge, you could hedge on 2 different accounts on the same coin. We have no restrictions on that whatsoever. I'm surprised more people haven't done that because you have a 15% profit target and 20% drawdown. There is a hedging opportunity there, I think, to pass the first level. I'm surprised more people haven't done it. So if you want to hedge between accounts, go for it. If you've got a system, remember, we do well if you do well. Like, go for it. If you're a professional trader and you've got a system that you think can win 80-90% of the time, come and talk to us. We'll help you get more liquidity. We'll go bigger than the accounts. We are all for people that can go and smash it and beat the market makers. Some good questions here, some good responses as well. So there's no challenge to pass. Well, I suppose it's just semantics in terms of language, but there's no evals on our platform. You're straight in. Yeah, great answer there, Kalani has answered. And I think some people do that actually. They do open up account and where they think there's going to be a big move because you obviously can make bank. When can you take profits? You take profits so when you reach 100 points. So apologies if some of these questions have been answered already. Like I say, if you're somebody who runs systems or trading, we've got 3 strategies we've been testing in the background. The next big move for us will be users being able to start a funded challenge and then choose a bot to run the challenge for them autonomously. Because that's something the prop firms can't do, because that'd be like them lending you a professional gambler when you walk in the casino, right? It's not in their interest to see you winning, despite what they say. They make the number look really big and they make it really difficult. Yeah, so it's just to trick you through the door. What we want to do is give you real capital, and actually we'll have automated strategies where you can choose high, medium, or low risk and just let the bot run it. So you just have to come back and check how your challenge is getting on. There's still risk because there's always risk in trading, but that'll be a real silver bullet for our platform, because no matter how much prop trading firms might want to copy it, the only way they could copy it is by throwing their business model in the bin and then building a platform like ours which places real flow, which I don't think they're going to do, because they're all hooked on making money from that deposit that you pay ultimately. I should talk, so I'm just looking if there's any new questions. A lot of people typing, but there's no new questions that I can see here. So once we reach 100 points, yeah, you get a payout and promotion, and off you go. One other thing I want to mention is we do have a native token, which we care about a lot, actually. Which that might sound obvious, but in truth, most tokens are extractive rather than about giving something back. And you can see on our platform, actually, here you can see a huge percentage of our supply is locked. So our market cap would have gone down a little bit because some of our liquidity is on ETH. So our market cap's probably just sub 4 million at the moment, and so much of it is locked. And most of that, so about 90%, is locked in a pool that we call EB-Fox, which stands for Earn and Burn. And that pool is for people that are long-term holders and want to stick around a long time. And it gets boosted rewards, but also, so you can see it here, it's got 49% APY. There's only 7% APY in the standard pool. So this pool has no fees, but this one has a withdrawal fee of 15%, which you might say, wow, that's a scam. But it's not. We don't get any of that 15%. Half of that 15% burns the token, and half of it pays everybody else that's still in the pool. So it's a way of rewarding the long term, which it doesn't happen often in this industry. And most of our supply, you can see that we've got 9.4 million out of what's current supply, because it's going down constantly. Out of 10.3 million actually is in that pool, and about 500,000 in the other one. So most of our supply, there's no minting of tokens, it's all distributed, and most of it is kind of locked away with long-term holders, and that pool is burning away. So you can see the last 7 days, actually, that pool's burned 3,000 tokens out of existence. So the supply is constantly coming down. I wonder if there's been any withdrawals. Yeah, so there has been some withdrawals in the last 24 hours. So even 225 tokens. So $60 actually has been burned from our market cap in the last 24 hours. And over what, $900 has been, well, $1,000 has been burned from our market cap in the last week. So we love our token. It gets you loads of it. It gets you access to private chats. We do monthly giveaways for people that hold a certain amount of those tokens, and 30% of our net trading fees are used to buy back the token on the open market and then deposit into those pools as well. So it's really like a grinder, like squeezing down the supply, because we keep buying it off the open market. People sell, we take fees, we buy them, we put them in the pool, people withdraw, they sell, and the process repeats. And all the time there's some of those are getting burned as well. So there's just a real squeeze on supply. So wanting to kind of push that. There's a load of stuff coming with the token where it'll become a very central part of our ecosystem when we've got multiple trading platforms on here as well. So enough shilling the token. I'll come back to the chat, see whether there's any final questions. I'm actually meant to be in a meeting a minute ago, but never mind. Let's see if there's any quality questions. Yeah, great question. So if you have $100, you get 500 to trade, and you bring the account 600 and take profit. Do you still have the 600? No. Go up. You had $100, you have 500, and you take profit. Yeah. So you take 80% of the profit, which you can do when you get to 100 points. You then get bumped to the next level. So you now have $1,250. So you cashed out your profit, and now you'd have $1,250. And if that was on Pro, so I could take a Pro account at 2.5, grow it by say $600. I cash out 80% of that. So I'd cash out 480, and then I would have $5,000. So I only have to pass one level, and it jumps up significantly. No, your withdrawals do not count against drawdown. Good question there. Which one is better in your opinion? Pro definitely makes you feel quite alive because you're straight in with thousands of dollars, right? In a few clicks, you've got thousands of dollars to trade with. But is it maybe good to start with an entry? Cool. So you do live trading weekly. Fantastic. Do withdrawals affect the timer? No, they do not. The timer, and by the way, so the timer, as you can see, I did two small trades today, and I had 2 weeks on my timer. If I got promoted later today, I could then sit in between levels. It's called on deck mode, and I can sit there for a long time. I could sit there indefinitely actually for months, and there's no penalty or impact from me doing that. And then when I start the next level again, I start off with a couple of days. So basically, but who starts the next level if they're not ready to start trading at that point, right? And then I do a couple of trades, and I've got a couple of weeks worth of time again. So what the response time is, but we do have an API. So good question there. Do we have the API hooked up onto Funded yet? I don't think so. But if you'd like to reach out to us and you would like to run some strategies, we will definitely support you in doing that. Were any of your traders wiped out on Friday despite having hard stop losses set? We were quite lucky actually. We didn't, I say lucky, like Orderly performed very well. Some platforms didn't. Orderly performed very well. And actually there were some massive promotions on Friday. A lot of them have been wrecked since because it's been really tough market to trade. We actually saw we saw a lot of promotions actually last Friday. And I was low key paranoid on Friday because actually our vault liquidity is at risk, right? If the drawdown doesn't trigger, but everything luckily kind of worked out okay. And our automated strategies crushed it. Actually, one of them did 5% on Friday, one did 8%, and one, which just sounds like a scam, but it did something like 38% on Friday, and that's the institutional feed. And yeah, shock, those guys knew something was going on. Cool. Well, I need to text an apology to someone because I think they're waiting for me. Is there any final questions, guys, before we close off? So Fox, you can, if you're interested in the Fox token, you can buy it through the bridge on our platform actually. So I'm still here, so let's do it. So you can go here, and you can actually buy the Fox token from any token on here. If you want to go to a DEX yourself, or on a couple of DEXs on Sonic, but it doesn't make sense. This will just route through anyway, guys. Okay. Cool. I'm gonna come back and see if there's any final questions. So yeah, if you wanted to buy the token, you can just do it through the bridge on the platform. Yeah. So, question. So, if I make 100, the max drawdown is 20%. Um, no, if I took my account from 500 to 1,000, my drawdown limit is still 20% below the 500. It's still 400. Yeah. So you've all of that capital. There's we don't. That's what's called trailing drawdown, which I think is just a straight up scam. So you grow your account and the drawdown basically follows you up. No, we don't do that because they only do that because they've tricked you through the door with promises of lots of money, and then they're trying to find ways to make sure you don't cash anything out. And trailing drawdown is just abhorrent, to be honest. Especially when you're looking at like 4% trading, it's just ridiculous, ridiculous. Imagine you catch a massive pump and then it pulls back and you get kicked off your account. It's a joke. Um, Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, I think what's the catch is that we can't throw around crazy sized accounts, and I think that's the seeming catch, right? If I go to breakout right now, I can get a 200k account, but market pumps and pulls back 4%, which can happen in a candle, then I've lost it. So it's that's too good to be true. Nobody's going to give a stranger $200,000. The only way it's legit would be we say, okay, we'll deposit some money, you trade, you prove you can get past the first level, and then we'll start giving you more. We'll start taking on more liquidity risk. And I think our approach is just logical, and I would say that the way the others work is just too good to be true. When you graduate from 500 to 1200, your drawdown is still at 400. No, no, definitely isn't. It's your drawdown is a percentage from your new level. So sorry, I thought your question was if I grow my account, then is my account that's gone up in value from my trading then got a higher drawdown. But when you move up a level, then the drawdown is applied from the starting balance at the next level. USDC is USDC on Sonic. However, we are currently working on a cross-chain deployment, so people can deploy from multiple chains. A lot of questions still coming. Help me, boss. Any more questions? Yeah. Oh, yeah, get yourself funded, guys. Get yourself funded. Yeah, we'd love to see you there. We want you to be successful. I think we'll probably, hopefully, come back and do a live stream once we have the automation live. So we have automation is in testing. If you go to Kitsune, which is our copy bot, and that's copying these automation strategies. So there's a tab called Kitsune on the platform. You can actually see the live results. Let's check. Let me show you now. Actually, this would be cool. Because we love doing. Look, I think one thing that these organisations want to do is pretend as well that what they're doing isn't risky. And trading is hard. Trading is so hard. And you know what? Sometimes things don't work out, but at least just be open. Do it out in the open. So this is our Kitsune platform, and this is a permissionless deposit and withdrawal system. And then it's running strategies in the background. Now the strategies are being run at fairly small amounts at the moment, so you can see there's $81,000 in the pool at the moment, and you can see these trades. So that was a winner, and it's fairly small. Now the size on this is going to be up today because we're upping it to a 5k virtual funded account. But you can see that it's been running pretty cool results actually. So that one was a winner, that one was a winner, This one actually was a winner. It was that was a malfunction. It basically closed at entry, and TP1 was set too low. So these both should be winners actually. That's a malfunction. It's a tech issue, and that's what testing's for. That was a loss, win, win, loss, loss, and then I think we have a good run of wins there. Sort of 5 wins in a row, 1 loss, 3 wins in a row, 2 losses. So you can see win rate pretty good actually. And yeah, so we've got this system's running those strategies, and then it'll be this system, so you can choose Kitsune to trade your challenge for you. And it'd be great to come back when we have that ready to go, because I think that is the, you know, the total available market for a product like that. I think is just completely off the charts. Maybe. Very good. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Sort of copy trading. What it is, it's a system that does copy strategies that we approve and feed into it. We have done copy trading before, and it was good while it was good. And we are launching an elite trader system. It's so tricky because, you know, we had everyone was running great at the end of 2024, and then users put a load of money on traders who had passed and done well. And then do you remember the dump from January? It was horrendous, wasn't it? Like every man and his dog got wrecked, and I think the pool lost like 28%, which to be honest, 28% versus almost everybody was liquidated wasn't actually that bad. But yeah, so we're a bit nervous of copy trading in the traditional sense, because what we've seen is that just people eventually get wrecked. But we've got some approved strategies that system's running at the moment, and then we'll make those strategies available for people to run on their funded accounts, so they can run funded accounts passively. Oh, I can convert USDC to USDT. You can, but it's USDC only on the platform. Cool, night rage. Cool. All right, guys. I'm going to have to shoot. Is there any massive final questions? Cool. I hope you enjoyed the demo, and good luck. Like, you know, there isn't another prop trading app in the world that genuinely wants to see you succeed, and we would love nothing more than for you to take all the market makers' money. Yeah, if you guys you can pick up the affiliate. So pick up the affiliate from the server, and there's can I get a copy of the presentation to share? I can. I'll work with Tycho on giving you a cut version of it. Cool. Great stuff. Cheers, guys. Well, thank you for having us, and hopefully we get the chance to come back again in the future. Funded giveaway. So I'm hoping Frido's still here. He normally handles these things whilst I yabber on. Frido, where is he? Or maybe Tycho's going to do it, but we've got to pick 3 people to win a free. Now, by the way, we don't, because it's real money, we can't meddle in people's accounts, right? It's permissionless, it's decentralized. So we can't go and put money in people's accounts, we can't take money out of your account. So you do need to deposit yourself. So we're going to give away 3 starter challenges. You'll need to deposit, and we'll instantly give you the $100 back. So we'll basically refund you. Yeah, so but obviously if you don't have $100, you're not going to be able to take us up on that free giveaway. And I don't want to be horrible, but if you don't even have $100, you're not really an interesting customer for us either. But yeah, three accounts to be given away. Yeah, that 250 bonus is a cash out bonus if you pass the first level, actually. I think that's in the announcement. Yes, we'll refund $100 exactly. Cool. All right. Tycho, how are we doing this? Because I haven't seen Friday. He's out to go. How do we win the giveaway? It's going to come down to chance, my friend. There you go, Tycho. He's doing it. He's typing. How many people are on the stream at the moment? How many people are here on the live? Skill. Yeah, there's a way you can guarantee you win the giveaways. You just have to beat all of the people here. You will definitely win the giveaway. If you can do that, you're in. Cool. All right, he's gonna pick some winners. Can I go? Can I enter? Watching the market, you'll notice Bitcoin pulling back again. Again, not a huge wick. So yeah. So closing in 15 seconds. Say funded or hashtag funded. If you don't say hashtag funded, he's not going to find you in his search. Hashtag funded. 10 seconds. Fun. What a lively community. Still coming. I think you got to wait a second, Tycho. Still coming. I'm sure I've seen the same people type hashtag funded multiple times now. Is that cheating? No. Is it? Yeah, it's cheating, right? If someone's pressed it multiple times. Here we go. Now I've given the game away, so people are starting to do it. Okay, it's picking. Come on. I need some positivity in my life. What a catch. Was a bit dark. Oh, great. Okay, so the winners are announced. I'm guessing it was announced in general chat or somewhere. Good stuff. All right, I'm going to bounce, guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Get funded. Please, please, please. You know, manage your risk carefully. And I want you to crush it. I want you to. We had a nice $1,500 cash out a couple of days ago, and I like that. I like seeing those nice chunky cash outs. So go and make the market makers cry. And good luck, guys. Take care.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Foxify team, and thank you everyone for that's shown up. So I think that's kind of the end of it now.